We all have an original mind that yearns for beauty, truth, and happiness. We want to be good people, able to raise beautiful families where all relationships of true love can blossom. Strong families are the building block of a healthy community, where each person can work together to create a peaceful and prosperous world. We are the Family Federation. Join us for world peace and unification.
I love that little intro. Yeah. It really tells the story, doesn't it?
Yeah.
What we're here and what we're about is how do we bring world peace and unification, harmony among people. At the start of the new year, of course, these first couple of weeks we've been wrestling with our goals and determinations, right? We've been, a few weeks ago during service, we reflected on the past year, the accomplishments and the challenges and the lessons that we learned through the past year. And then we also set forward the goals and determinations. And if you look at the news, there's so many challenges that we face in the world today. It's sometimes scary, sometimes frustrating, sometimes even feels hopeless. The amazing thing is that if anyone should have hope in this world, it's unification. And it's because of our worldview, the way that we look at things and interpret the world, our understanding about life and about the nature of reality. And it all comes from the divine principle. The key components, the divine principle, the exposition of the divine principle, the three main parts. What was God's ideal? The fundamental, to have loving, to become loving individuals who know God, experience God, to establish families of true love, to have dominion over the things of the creation, of a loving dominion. As Father and Mother Moon like to say, true owners of things in creation. Not dominating right them, but loving them genuinely in unselfish ways. And, as always, understanding the ideal makes the present reality even more uncomfortable. As you think about how difficult my reality is compared to the ideal that we envision. And that's why it's important that we study the fall and understand the root problem, the root of evil. Fundamentally, it has to do with the loss of God's true love in the individuals, in the family, and in society, and in the world. Understanding that, and the largest bulk of the unification principle is all about how do we solve that problem? What's the solution? The process of restoration, the principles of restoration, the principles of salvation. Why did God send the Messiah? And how has God worked all throughout history? With this kind of understanding, we're actually armed with hope for the present, but also a vision and empowered in a way, how can we make a positive difference in the world? Let me read this from Father Moon, or from the Divine Principle. According to the principle of creation, God's ideal, God's purpose of creation can be realized only when human beings complete their portion of responsibility. It's very important, their portion of responsibility. Although God's will to realize this purpose through the providence of restoration is absolute and beyond human influence, its fulfillment necessarily requires the accomplishment of the human portion of responsibility. This is one of the most profound understandings of the unification principle. Different than traditional religions and around the world, the emphasis is that it's not all in God's hands, but actually that we as human beings have genuine responsibility. God designed us to be partners in creating a good world. And so if the world's not a good world right now, it's not because of God, it's because of human beings. And so our partnership with God is how we're going to bring healing and change in the world. So over the last couple of weeks, we talked about making goals and setting goals. And of course, an easy formula for us to look at when setting goals are what are the three great purposes in our life, right? The first purpose at the individual level, how do I become a true person, a person of true love who knows God, investing in study and prayer. For me, my goals around this have mostly to do on the spiritual side with my prayer life, my study life. I made a determination. I'm going to journal, write in my journal every day, reflections on the day and offer it up to God every day, our Heavenly Parent. And then on the external side, that's my internal. With the external side, I'm just determined I've got to do more exercising. Got to keep this physical body healthy. So at the individual level, every day I've determined I'm going to spend at least 20 minutes. Hopefully more, but at least that much. Because my job, I sit in front of a computer all day long, and then I drive home. So it's like easy not to be active. So that's the individual level, and I hope all of you have set also yourself individual levels, goals. But the second level is between us and our relationship with people. The second great purpose, of course, is establish a good family, society, nation, and world. So for me, in my relationship with people, I've taken a pledge of determination. It's called a zero negativity zone. I'm working on my communication skills. And the challenge here is, how can I always speak to people with honoring and respect? And no negativity means I don't use any words that would, or gestures, or expressions that would make them feel put down or insulted or whatever. I'm still going to speak the truth, but I need to speak it, owning it, and honorably. This is a big challenge with parents. Oftentimes, looking at my daughter and saying, "You're going to wear that?" Which, of course, doesn't necessarily communicate the genuine love and care that I have for my daughter. It more shares my judgment and my criticism, rather than opening an opportunity for change, right? So anyway, that's one of my determinations. The relationship with people, I'm working on, okay? I'm a work in progress. And then the third great blessing is our dominion over the things in the creation, the stuff of our life, right? So for me, I need to I'm determined to pay closer attention to my finances. For me, it's like money is this invisible, nebulous world. I can talk about all kinds of things, computers, theology, whatever, but you start talking about money, finances, and budget, my mind just kind of goes, huh? Switches off. So I'm determined this year I'm going to focus more on that, and also I'm going to organize my stuff a lot better. Anyway, these are goals as individuals, for our life. We know that our purpose life is to become a person of true love, an individual level, to have relationships of true love with the people in our lives around us, and to have a dominion, to be owners of things of creation that's centered on God and God's love. So I want to think a little bit today about our larger goals and our larger vision, that we, especially as unificationists, are empowered to take on. So again, this is from Father Moon. When you acquire a fine ideal, like we have through the unification principle, you can have direction in your life, and your mind can set good goals. But when you try to pursue that way of life on earth, there will always be opposition. And you will have to make constant effort to overcome the roadblocks. By every standard, such a person is a true God-centered man, someone who works to overcome those roadblocks, right? Even though you have the ideal, you must live it in order to make yourself the dwelling place of God. So we face lots of challenges, especially as soon as we make a commitment to living for a higher ideal. If we don't commit ourselves to anything, life is easy. Oh, no problem. I want to do that. Oh, but I can't. Oh, well. I'm committed to do that, and then I have barriers. Oh, that I have a challenge. So, yeah, I could live a life without any commitment. That's also a life without much fulfillment. So once we make a commitment, once we take a stand for a vision for the future, then immediately we're going to face whatever opposes that, whatever is the opposite of that. And our challenge is how do we overcome and break through in that area? So I want to offer just some considerations based on UPF. Actually, I think I was inspired by Zaki. You all meet Zaki, just immigrated from Afghanistan, who worked with UPF there. Reminded me and reflect again on the 5 core universal principles from the UPF. And I think that these universal values for peace are also ways for us to look at our activities in life, our goals in life, our projects and things that we're doing to see, okay, how can I make a larger impact? So we took the 3 great blessings and focused on missions and goals for our new year. So now I'm going to take the 5 universal values for peace and look at how we can apply that in terms of goals. So, who remembers the very first statement in the core values of Universal Peace Federation? What's the number 1 statement?
God is all.
God. God is the parent of everyone, not just our church, not just that church down the street, not just one religion, but God is the God of everyone, the parent of all people. And then the second one?
Spiritual.
Yes, that we are spiritual beings. And then spiritual values are really important. The third one? Quiz time. Family. That's right, that family and marriage are critical for a healthy society and a healthy world. That family is the school of love. And the fourth one?
Purity.
Service. Yes, living for the sake of others. Actions of service that make a change, to make a contribution to others. This is how we find also fulfillment in our life. And the last one is cooperating across religious traditions, across boundaries, across differences. So 10 years ago, maybe 15 years ago or more, when we first started laying these out, for me these were very straightforward, easy to understand, easy to accept. I mean, wow, who's going to disagree with that? Yeah, there's a divine being, that we're spiritual beings, that family and marriage are important, that living for helping others is also really important, and we need to work together. It was kind of, oh yeah, that's easy. Right? Everyone easily can go along with those points. And I look at our world today, and I realize that there's really each one of these points are actively under attack. The first point about God, Eleanor, my wife, has been spent a lot of time lately watching videos from famous atheists, debates with atheists, right? Like Christopher Hitchens and Dawkins and a lot of these people and their arguments. And there's actually a very active, in America, in Western society, a very active movement that says belief in God is the problem. And especially now they can point to radical Islam and say, see, because they believe in God, that's why we have evil in the world. They used to be, they hated the Catholic Church the most, but now Islam. But anyone who believes in God is evil. And that belief and that superstition of God is why we have evil in the world. And they're actively promoting that and actively working to take mention of God out of schools, out of civil society. We just went through this great Christian holiday, Christmas. How much do you hear about Jesus during Christmas? No, it's all about Santa Claus. And Christmas trees, and Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, and snowman, That's what the holiday has become. And pushing more and more to make this world, our environment, a secular environment, and denying God. So we, especially as unificationists, we're people who can defend against that. And then spiritual values. The whole emphasis on materialism, It's so easy to get focused anyway on survival, making more money, getting more power, more prestige, more knowledge, all these external things. They're not bad. They're important. They're part of a fulfilled life. But without paying attention to the internal core spiritual values, then the richness and the fulfillment of life is empty. We know lots of stories about rich people. They are not happy. unless they have some spiritual component in their life. They're not happy, they're not fulfilled. Marriage and family. This one is really under attack in America. I mean, even the desire to get married is disappearing. I work with a bunch of, relatively young, 20s, 30s people. Half of them, they may live together with someone, but marriage? Why get married? No reason to get a kid. I don't need any kids. There's problems in my life. And not valuing the value of marriage and understanding the deep significance of marriage. That's a deep challenge for our society, for the development of a healthy society. Then service, right? The virtue of selfishness, right? Everyone's, what's in it for me? I'm only going to do it if I'm getting some benefit. That kind of thinking is so strongly supported in our culture, in advertising, in the media, everywhere you see it. Music, movies. Selfishness instead of service and benefiting others, sacrificing for others. And cooperation. Yeah, that's the American political system is a great example of lack of cooperation right now, right? There's lots of conflict and becoming more and more polarized, and the media is polarizing people even more. There are more extremes. In fact, you can't just disagree with someone now that's on the other side. You have to dislike the person and attack the person. This is definitely leading us down the opposite direction of a world of peace. And that's the reality. I've just even reflected on these 5 core principles and seeing how much they're under attack right now in this time, particularly in Western society. So again, here's from Father Moon. Those who possess the strength, hope, and desire to affirm the value of life while undergoing trials and suffering, and are not crushed by the difficulties and hardships. If you keep hope alive while you are going through difficulties, you can realize the joy of the kingdom of heaven. Without overcoming difficulties, you can never achieve your hopes. So, difficulties. I don't like difficulties. I like to have a comfortable life, right? But honestly speaking, a comfortable life is not going to be a fulfilled life. Unless we take on the challenges and the difficulties, we're going to die bored to death. We won't find life of fulfillment and joy. So again, as unificationists, we're uniquely prepared and educated to be able to take on these issues. Particularly the issue about God, and watching these videos and the debates between Christians and Muslim scholars with atheists and their debates, it becomes really obvious that the main point that atheists have is that God is an evil God. If you believe in God, the God you believe in is an evil person. Going through all the scriptures and, oh yeah, God believes in genocide. God believes in killing off children. God, all these things that can be pointed to from the scripture. And Christian and Muslim and religious scholars, they all kind of fumble at this point. Well, it's because of, we as unificationists are most powerfully prepared to defend the absolute goodness of God. And it's so important that we be people who defend the absolute goodness of God, because we know that the scriptures and the holy readings, they're there to teach us, but they're not the literal word of God. They're to teach us, to help us reach to God, to understand, experience God. And the principle helps us to understand about human responsibility. That God designed us to be partners. That there's evil in the world is absolutely against God's desire. Absolutely. God never wants to see evil for any of the people that God created. God loves them as a parent loves children. And yet, God gave us genuine responsibility. We are partners in this. So we are the ones that are responsible for changing the evil that's in the world in partnership with God. It's not something we can do by ourselves. But in partnership with God, that's how we're going to bring change and transformation in the world. So we need to be the people who can defend God. Especially in the place where it's just saying, oh, you know, God's this atheistic attack on God and the emphasis on secularism. So even just myself, you know, each one of us being willing to say, yeah, I believe in God. Yeah, no big deal. Yeah, I absolutely believe in God. You got any questions? Would you like to share about it? You know, because it's God is just being pushed to the side and pushed out of particularly Western society, the life in Western society. So God needs people who stand up and says, yes, I absolutely believe in God. I worship God. I'm committed to living a godly life. And that's the second point, spiritual values. We need to show an example in our own daily life and practice of higher moral standard. You know, don't cheat. Even if we can get away with it, don't cheat. You know, oh, I know I can make a shortcut. You know, and I could cheat this way, and no one will ever know, and you know, make my life easier. We don't need to do that. We believe in the spiritual laws. We believe that, you know, even if we can cheat in the physical world, spiritually it costs us. So when we're people of integrity and holding up for, even logically thinking, you know, a secularist who doesn't believe in the spiritual world, but you know, it's all just material. For them, the most important goal is, you know, health, money, and power. Maybe education, right? No, that's what's important. So anything I need to do, I can sacrifice other people, whatever, to do that. We need to be people who uphold and lift up these kind of spiritual values and emphasize, yeah, this isn't, you know, your life doesn't end when you die. The game isn't over. And what we, you know, how we are in the spiritual world are what we've created in our life. How much have we loved? And marriage and family. Of course, there's lots to say about that. The main focus is, you know, sharing true family values, empowering families that do realize and feel the value, and supporting them, giving them strength and understanding and perspectives so they can stand up and say, well, why are you having so many kids? Why are you, you know, why did you get married? Oh, it's so expensive. Spend all that money on a wedding. Oh, because it's important. And the blessing of marriage and marriage rededication, getting people to participate in rededicating their marriage. You know, our goal is 1 million in America to rededicate their marriage to a higher purpose, to God, to affirm the value and importance of marriage in society. It's the blessing of marriage movement. Service in our life, just by showing an example of serving others. Looking for opportunities where we can make a positive difference in the world using the gifts that God's given us. And cooperation is really challenging sometimes in this world today. We can find ways that we can work together and we look for something that we have in common, a common goal. But even in the conversations that are going on, being able to listen to someone who you completely disagree with and listen to them respectfully, and then being able to respond in a way that empowers them, supports them, and being able to see a bigger picture. This is also a uniquely powerful role that we as unificationists are trained for. So, when we think about goals for this new year, and in a couple of weeks we have another chance, we have another new year, right? Because we have the lunar calendar. And so in February 5th we'll celebrate the Lunar New Year, and we'll be celebrating God's Day in our unificationist tradition, Heavenly Parents' Day, the first day of the new lunar year. Another chance, we make some more goals. But let's look at this area. How can I be the advocate for God? How can I be the advocate for spiritual values and the importance of spirituality in our lives? Raising up and empowering others in marriage and family. service. How can I serve others? Find a way to make a positive difference in my community, in the people in my life around me. How can I be the example of finding ways to cooperate and communicate across differences, across the very great divide in the polarized society that we're living in now? So let me close with this from Father Merz. It says, what gift could be more precious than that of completing the family ideal in your family, so as to guarantee eternal peace and happiness for your children? Surely, no one has such an opportunity. No one who has such an opportunity should hesitate to take up the task of building the peace kingdom on earth, for which God has waited for thousands of years. This was Father Moon's address to the United States Congress and other leaders. So, we're in a new year. Chance for a new start, an opportunity for making new starts. So, can we do it?
Yeah.
Let's make a difference in the world and our environment around us. Please join me with that. Good morning, Father, Mother God, our loving Heavenly Parent. Thank you so much for the way that you're working in each one of our lives, and the chance we have to participate in your providence to bring healing, liberation, salvation, and freedom to all the world, Heavenly Parent. We're so grateful that we could understand your perspective through the principle, that we have an opportunity to participate through our own lives and examples in making this world a world where your love can dwell and where your presence can be felt. Please guide us, Heavenly Parent, as we go out through this coming year to be the people that can represent your perspective, that we can be your hands and your feet and your voice in bringing healing to this world that's so suffering right now. Thank you so much. And for each one of us, we offer ourselves up to you. We know we ourselves face so many internal challenges and difficulties, but we're grateful for your hand on our lives and the way you're constantly working to give us opportunities to break through the challenges, the fears, everything that Satan would put in our way. So, Heavenly Parent, we put ourselves again in front of you and offer ourselves as your loving servants, as your precious children, and determined to be the sons and daughters who can inherit and pass on your love in this world. So together as your sons and daughters, as blessings for families, we offer this prayer